greatly that it has to be included.
The Lee Enfield SMLE scores top marks for service length. Accuracy, handling, and combat effectiveness are also high. Only innovation is average, putting this British classic at number 3. At number 2 in our top 10 comes the rifle that has equipped the American soldier for over 40 years.
M16. Type: semi or fully automatic assault rifle. Country of origin: United States. Caliber: 5.56 by 45 millimeter. Cartridge capacity: 20 and 30 rounds. Muzzle velocity: approximately 3,281 feet per second. Rate of fire: 700 to 950 rounds per minute.
There's a lot of people around the planet not breathing anymore because of the M16. It'll do its job.
It was great. Been in lots of firefights where there were lots of orange tracers going that way and green tracers coming this way, and it became sort of the quintessential rifle of Vietnam. Everybody had one.
During the 1950s, the U.S. military was searching for a lightweight, modern assault rifle which could replace the semi-automatic M1 and its selective fire counterpart, the M14. Eugene Stoner, an engineer at the Armalite factory, came up with a workable design.
What Gene Stoner does is he cuts out lots of the pipework and creates a much simpler gas system that reloads a smaller, lighter round, the 5.56 millimeter round.
And because the weapon fires 5.56, you could carry twice the amount of ammunition for the same weight of 7.62. In my unit, I had kids carrying 1,500 rounds of ammunition, and that was sort of standard.
Despite being lighter than the older, bigger-hitting rounds, the 5.56 was still capable of causing untold damage.
Because of the particular ballistics of the 5.56 bullet, it tumbles when it hits flesh and it causes immense wound damage. Because of this, the weapon was good enough to stop an enemy soldier when you fired at him.
The weapon Stoner designed to chamber the new ammo stemmed from work he was conducting with high-speed alloys. Usually used for jet engines and jet parts, he began to realize that they could also be used to forge new weapons.
It looked very space age for the time. It was a weapon that had not only aluminum alloy forging that would then be milled or machined, but also had plastic parts on it. So it was not very popular among the traditional crowd.
In Vietnam, the M16 got a chance to prove its worth on the battlefield.
Stoner and the Armalite Corporation convinced the U.S. High Command that they should try fielding some of them in Vietnam to see how they perform. This is called Project Agile. Project Agile is a great success. The soldiers who are using them love them. It's simply known as the Black Rifle. It sort of sounds very sexy.
But in 1965, the Vietnam War escalated. American troops poured into the jungle, and almost immediately, problems with the M16 began to emerge. With alarming regularity, the weapon was jamming, and young soldiers were dying as a result.
When it went to Vietnam, it went with a reputation it never needed to be cleaned. And, consequently, no cleaning kits went. Well, it does.
Wary of a scandal, the American military began to issue new orders to their troops in Vietnam.
The United States Army looked very closely at this, designed specialized cleaning kits, and even printed a comic book called PM Magazine, Preventive Maintenance Magazine, with women soldiers and T-shirts telling the soldiers how to strip their Sweet 16 and this type of thing. And when these new rifles, cleaning kits, and training were sent to Vietnam, the rifle began to build a reputation as an excellent jungle carbine.
Post-Vietnam, the M16 is still going strong. In Somalia, Bosnia, and Afghanistan, it has kept the peace and taken the fight to the enemy. In Iraq, a scoped version has allowed Marines to counter the threat posed by Iraqi insurgents.
In Fallujah in April of 2004, Marines were taking so many headshots that a investigative committee was brought in to determine if they were executing people. But it was determined that those shots were taken at hundreds of meters, and it was because the head was usually the only part that an insurgent would present in the window.
Despite its early difficulties, the M16 has been an outstanding performer. Accuracy is high. Handling, service length, and combat effectiveness are also high. And innovation is good, putting the M16 just outside the top spot in our list. Before we find out what the #1 combat rifle is, let's run down the top 10 list. At 10, it's the Comeback Kid. The M14 has been around for 40 years, but it's still doing a job. At 9, the weapon Hitler called the Storm Rifle, the German Sturmgewehr. Number 8, the Springfield 03, nicknamed the Silent Death. It was lethally accurate. 7th spot goes to the Steyr AUG, space-age looks and a space-age design. At number 6, it's the Mauser 98K, Hitler's favorite rifle. At 5, the big-hitting Belgian battle rifle, the FN-FAL. 4th in our list, it's the weapon that helped America win World War II, the M1 Garand. At number 3, the Lee Enfield SMLE, a true British classic. And at number 2, it's the rifle that has seen the American GI through Vietnam and into the 21st century, the M16. And finally, at number 1, the best of the best, a rifle which has become an icon of the 20th century as both a symbol of freedom and oppression.
Kalashnikov, AK-47. Type, semi or fully automatic assault rifle. Country of origin, Soviet Union. Caliber, 7.62 by 39 millimeter. Cartridge capacity, 30 rounds. Muzzle velocity, 2,329 feet per second. Rate of fire, 600 rounds per minute.
If I had to go to a planet, an unknown planet, and I was allowed to take one firearm, it would be an AK-47. When Western civilization melts down, I want an AK-47.
The AK-47 is the Lord of War. It probably caused the most death of any single weapon system produced ever.
When you feel that click, you know you got 30 rounds of rock and roll.
With over 50 million built worldwide, the AK-47 is a firearms legend. Its designer was Mikhail Kalashnikov. A Soviet tank sergeant, he devised the weapon while recovering from wounds sustained on the Eastern Front in World War II.
Mikhail Kalashnikov was an inveterate tinker. He's self-described as the kind of guy who couldn't look at a door lock without wanting to take it apart and put it back together.
As he's recuperating in hospital, he comes up with the idea for a self-loading rifle. And in 1947, it is approved as the new small arm for the Russian infantry, hence its designation AK-47, Automatic Kalashnikov 1947 pattern.
Built on the same principles as the German Sturmgewehr, it chambered an intermediate round and was built from stamped parts. Easy to produce and relatively cheap, the AK-47 looked clumsy. But when tested, it was supremely reliable. And to soldiers, that reliability meant something.
What can you do to an AK-47 to make it stop firing? Not a whole lot. Maybe drive over with a tank.
The AK, you can bury it in sand, you can bury it in mud, you can abuse it to the degree where it's covered with rust and it will still work. That weapon is going to keep you alive.
Cleaning the AK-47 was also easy.
You pop off the machinery cover. There's the guts. They're real simple. You don't need Q-tips. You can use your finger and a towel, a rag. I saw Afghans clean their AK-47s. They just tie their bootlaces into a multiple of knots, dip them in motor oil, and yank them through the barrel. And that was clean enough.
But what made the AK-47 a universal killing machine was the ease with which